Hello and welcome for the very new session on research methodology. We are going to talk today about the research methodology per se. But before that, we must have two more smaller topics to discuss because that is very relevant as far as the research methodology is concerned. We will talk about the objective of the research and function of the research before we go into the real estate or anything which is relevant or which is going to give a very effective and very successful research as far as the research methodology is concerned. We are going to ask some questions before we design our research. But first thing first, we must understand what is the objective of the research. See, when the research starts, you have three types of objective, or maybe you can classify the research into three. One is the exploration of a subject, and when you want to know everything about the subject, you explore new dimensions, new aspect, and cover the entire subject in toto to derive at a new process, new functions, new you can say utilization of that particular product or process or the subject. Now that is the exploration of a subject where we start. That is the objective of the research. Then we have descriptive research or descriptive objectives. Now in descriptive objectives, for example, the population census wants to know that how many households have toilets, or how many households have the expenditure or below poverty line, or maybe from some such you can say information where the government policies are dependent on that particular research and the data what the census accumulates. Now a descriptive, very specific research is where we are specific about the question in our mind, and we want find out the answer, and we want to know, say for example, that how many people are homeless in the country. Now to provide the homes, say government of India have started housing for all, a mission, and all the union budgets and all the fire plans and all the policies of the Niti Aayog, they adhere to or target to achieve that housing for all by certain period. Now unless you know how many people and how much short we are, you cannot have an assessment of the demand. Now this type of descriptive research are very specific research where they want to formulate certain policies or formulate some estimations for the performance of either government or the corporations or the companies or business and firms. So the descriptive research are most popular, and they are having questions, and they are finding some facts and figures. That is the research. Now the third type of objective of a research is their explanation. Now you are explaining that why somebody has when the result is already out, and you want to know what could be the reason. For example, if the government is been elected, and you want to know that who voted for the government, which is the age group, or which is the section of the society, or that the analysis of a event which has had already happened, and then you want to just improve upon that event, or you want to improve upon something which, or you want to restrict that something should not have actually happened, what could be the reason that why it has occurred, and that was the object of the research. Now, little bit fast I am, but because I want to cover the main topic today is the research design. The function of research. The function of research is that you need to first of all collect the examples, collect the data, collect the information, and after you collect the information on the subject, you correct your, see, sometimes you have some preconceived notions on something, but you need to de-learn also somewhere, where you cannot have imposed your preconceived notions, even if you are collecting some data, even though you are collecting some information, then also you are not actually, so you are imposing your thoughts into the research. You should be absolutely neutral. You should, as a researcher, must understand that the research is for somebody, for the society, for the advantage of the society at a large. If you are doing the research for yourself, it doesn't mean that, okay, maybe it is for confining yourself into something, but a research, exploration research must be for the society. So, the first thing first, you need to collect the data, information, validate it, develop and evaluate concepts and practices, and then develop methods or methodologies and test the concept which you have actually introduced. Now, maybe obtaining a knowledge for practical purpose, like solving problems of household expenditure or population, or maybe usage of certain product or process. So such type of information you must get. So this is the function, and this is how you actually define. Now coming to the main subject of today is the research design. Often the researchers usually start their research invariably, and they don't actually shape the path of the research. A research design is actually a predetermination of the research parameters and the outbox of the research, wherein into that only you are. See, the world is so vast, the knowledge is so vast, information and data is so vast. You need to confine yourself to a specific subject or your research question. So, I need to, before I start a research, I must design my research. Now, I will ask some few questions before, to design my research. Is this, that what is the scope of my research? Now, for example, suppose I want to know how much short we are, that for a government policy who wants to actually give a shelter to its people, and we want to know what could be the figure, how many dwelling units we require in how many period, and what will be the geographical locations of these units. Just for example, I am just giving you a question. Now, in that way, if my scope of, say, India or US or maybe any big country where the geographically it is not possible to collect the data, and it will be a huge, if suppose I just say that how many short we are in India for shelterless people. Now, India is a vast country having many states and union territories. Collecting the data and information, because every region is having, or every demographic feature of all the region is different. Every 1500 or 1200 kilometers the language changes. The caste, creed, language, culture, everything changes. The type of construction of house also changes. People preferences changes. So for example, in metropolitan cities like Mumbai, Bangalore or Delhi, where people would like to go in high rise. But in seismic zones like Ahmedabad or maybe in some other part of the country where people don't want to go in upper floor, they want to go in the lower floor, and the premium is for good for lower floors and the premium is high for the upper floors in the metropolitan city like Mumbai. So I need to understand, confine myself into some scope of the work. I start my scope of, say, housing finance, problems and challenges in housing finance. Now, the entire country is having that particular process. But would I be able to gather in some certain specific period of time, maybe 22 months I have been given by the university, and my assignment is for limited period. I cannot just go on adding my period into the research. By that time, maybe if you do not arrest your time in 2 years or 3 years for the research, maybe the process changes, new entrants come, new preferences, new customer behavior, something comes in. So by the time you actually assess and understand what is the process, data and all that, some new thing has already come in. So you need to confine yourself into geographical region, your period of time into that research, what you are going to put in. So the scope should be defined. What is my scope of the work? Then I will ask my research that is any previous research conducted by somebody in last say 25 years. So if suppose already somebody has found out something or the process, or he has already taken all the data which I am going to accumulate and analyze, the same thing is already done by somebody, then what is the use of that particular research? Unless you put some top up on that, and then you understand that okay, now this was in 2000 or 1995 somebody did some research, and now the product mix have changed, the entrant have changed, the government policies have changed, you require new dimension to that research. Unless you actually define that, you will not get that particular edge. Somebody did it already research, and repeating the research will not give you any new things. Then I'll ask myself whether is the topic too broad. If I say that housing finance process in the country, or maybe how much short dwelling units we are, or what will be the usual product cycle for an FMCG product, or maybe the customer vehicles purchased and preferences. So if some such questions are there, I need to confine my topic into a smaller topic so that it is indicative to a larger topic and larger population where my research would be helpful. Then is the sample data which I am going to collect representing the population. Now as a statistician, you have to be, a researcher must be a statistician. He has to or she has to actually understand that the data sample which you are going to take should be the representative of the larger population on which you are actually doing your research. Now in that process, how to identify that what should be the best sample size? If I can give you example, say India is having 356 housing finance companies and non-banking financial institutions involved into housing finance business, which the National Housing Bank, that is the apex regulator for housing finance in India, is giving the population size is 356, and if I can take say maybe two nationalized bank, two international bank, two national non-banking financial institutions, two scheduled commercial banks, two cooperative banks, maybe this would be actually represent, and then the leading one, and you can take some leading one, you can take some people those who are not or lesser performing players in the sector. and then when you actually put all your analysis on this, then you get a good indicative or representative to the population. Can the problem really be investigated? You ask yourself whether the problem can be investigated or no. If I say that a water on the moon or a water on Mars is my expedition, of course you need a scientific and this is not just individual person, it may be an institutional research. But if I need to understand whether the problem can be investigated, it is my whims that there may be, I'm just exploring whether the moon is or the Mars is having water, or in some other in the universe some planet is having water, because as per the theory of the when the earth came in or life came in on the earth, is that when the water was there, that is why so I am just developing on the theorem and then exploring some other planet, some other places, some other thing, whether the problem can be investigated. And my other question is, can the data which I received be validated? I don't have any authority, I don't have any historical data, I don't have any historical event to actually validate what the data I have been receiving. So a process of well validated data. I am just not very keen on media publications or some leave about some journal, but I am not very keen on the reports are published in the newspapers or on the web or whatever, because the primary data which I am going to collect will help me, not secondary data. These data which are being published are the secondary data, not validated data. So I can just blindfoldedly just go on and understand, okay, this is what the data for the analysis. No, I have to actually validate and the process of validation of the data. Is the problem significant? Now question is asked, how likely that a tall guy going to marry a lesser tall girl? So it's not so very significant problem, it's all that marriages or all this social science are two different things. You're not going to benefit the society out of that what you are going to research. So the research has to have some significance in the social science and the society as a whole. Now I'll come with some generalization, say that whether the result of the study can be generalized. Means, like for example, if I say that a government is being elected by younger people, those who have voted between the age limit of 18 to 45, and because of the larger share of the votes to the government came from 60% or 80% from this age group. Now the political party who is actually going to fight the next election would certainly going to see that they have an impact or through policies, through PR, through whatever, that they want to catch hold of this particular segment, or some FMCG product which is saying that if the nozzle of a toothpaste what we call a toothpaste enclosure, that if the nozzle is bigger, then the usage of the toothpaste will be more. Now if I am putting the lesser dimension of a nozzle to a toothpaste tube, then I may get bigger customers if I put a bigger nozzle, so that the usage, that once you press the tube, then the consumption will be more. A soap manufacturer have a design in a soap where on the stomach of or in the middle of the soap, it makes a slide depression, so that the middle of the soap is little thinner than the outer skirt of the soap. That is the design. If you put the soap on your body, it is most likely that the middle portion of the soap will get used fast. So there will be two pieces of the soap, and people don't like to have two pieces of soap usually. They want the full cake of the soap. Now this is where the research said that, I have to enhance my consumption of a soap, or to enhance my consumption of toothpaste, is that where is absolutely very, very confined to yourself or to your own product and this. But can it be generalized? No, because a soap which having a you can say antibacterial soap, or maybe a hand wash which is having 100% coronavirus killer, then that is the generalized for the society. That is the research which usually are mostly acceptable. And what cost and time? How much cost? Because some researchers putting their lifetime, 2 years, 3 years into the research, and then they should also be get incentivized for that. So of course the research PhD students and the postdoctoral researchers usually do it for their academic purposes and other things, and it is being sponsored by something. But then you need to understand that somebody is paying you for your cost, and you must understand that the time which I was talking about, that you have to arrest your time. You cannot, indefinite period of time you cannot put the research. And is the planned approach appropriated to the research? You need to plan your research, and all the chapters, all the sections of the research must be well defined. You must understand that you need the intro, you need statistics, you need to have your research thesis, your analysis, then your hypothesis, then how you have, whether you have proved your hypothesis, maybe null hypothesis. Now such all things needs to be defined in before you start a research. So this is where the research design comes into. Subject is little vast. I have little time to explain. May I take up some certain specific topics within this research design when I am going to talk about the research methodology and the research applications in our coming episodes. Thank you very much. Till then, bye bye.